Hello my beautiful travelers and welcome back to my channel. This is Big Daddy Quinn with another travel video for you today. I haven't done a travel video in quite a minute, but we're going back to my roots and we're going to do it today. So I'm going to discuss the top 10 things to do in Medellin, Colombia. I have had the pleasure of traveling throughout South America to different countries, and Colombia being one of my favorite countries. It is a country full of life and diversity. It is fun, high energy place. People are just so nice, so funny, very spicy. I honestly loved Medellin more than I thought I was gonna love it. Of course, there are a lot of people who told me to heed that place because obviously of the stigma around Pablo Escobar and the drug traffickers in the city and its well-known history in violence and drug abuse. So, of course, a lot of people would not think that this is a great tourist destination, but it has definitely blossomed and boomed in the last 10 to 20 years. So today, I want to share with you some things and some ideas for you guys to do when you go to Medellin or are planning your trip to Medellin, Colombia. And if you aren't and you're just thinking about going, hopefully my list will get you a little excited about possibly making this your next destination. Okay, the first one on my list is not one that I personally had time to do. I really wanted to do it. I didn't have enough time. So I do recommend planning extra time for a lot of the things that are on this list. But this is what I've heard from other people that is a fun thing to do, and that is visiting a flower farm because Colombia is known for their flowers. Or visiting a coffee plantation, which obviously you guys know that Colombia is well known for their coffee. Colombian coffee, you think of Colombia, you think of either Pablo Escobar or you think of coffee. So highly suggest that you guys try it out. I'm sad I didn't get to do so, but from the locals and from other tourists that I have met around, they all highly recommended doing this. So you can either get a personal tour guide for this one, or you could do like a small tour group. So what happens in these is they just show you the process of how they grow the coffee beans and then basically how they turn it into coffee. Okay, number 2 is ride the metro cable. So the metro cable is a great way to see the whole view of the city. So this is a means of transportation for a lot of the locals. They'll take the metro cable because this city is so big, and of course there are your barrios that are in the hills, and then trying to get from one side to the next can be a huge task. So people take the metro cable. It's a nice little 30-minute ride. It's very affordable and very accessible. Just be aware that it is closed on Mondays. I remember we were planning to go on a Monday and it was unfortunately closed, or it'll be closed on Tuesday if the Monday was a holiday. So keep that in mind before you go. Okay, next is my favorite thing that I did, one of my favorite things that I did in Medellin, and that was taking a free walking tour. I took a tour called the Free City Tours or the Real City Tours. I don't know, I'll link it down below, but highly recommend. So informational. Our tour guide was absolutely incredible. You can have the option to do in English or Spanish. They have tours for both. Our tour guide had very good English, and they take you to both the nicer parts of the city but also to the rougher side as well, so you can see exactly how the locals live. And that's why it's called the Real City Tours, is because you really get to go into these parts of towns you otherwise probably wouldn't feel comfortable going with, but they tell you the history and how it's been rebuilt, how the streets have been cleaned up from back then during the Pablo Escobar times to present day. So they go really into depth. They tell you kind of about the horrors of those times and how far that they had come. Wonderful tour, cannot recommend it enough. And yes, it is free, but if you guys do go, please tip your tour guide, okay? They rely on tips. They do such an amazing job. Tip your tour guide. Okay, next we're gonna talk about partying, because if you're much like me, I love to party. If not, you can skip ahead through these next two. But if you want to party with the locals, I recommend La SETENTA, which is the 70th Street, and it's a whole strip of bars and restaurants. Super fun. It mainly where the locals go to party. You won't see as many tourists there, but if you are more into that kind of vibe, then I recommend it. Honestly, I really enjoyed this part, being surrounded by the locals, seeing how they party. Being kind of away from the tourists is just really exciting to me, so I can immerse myself in that culture and how they live. People are really friendly. I felt very safe. Check it out if that's what you're into. There's also another party place, which is my next point, is going to be Parque LLERAS, which is in El Poblado, which is kind of like the nicer area of the city. This is where a lot of expats live, a lot of tourists stay. But with that, as you know, it comes more expensive prices. So you kind of find more American prices there than you would. So like for a cocktail, it's the same price as I would pay in California, versus where when I went to La SETENTA, $3 beers, super cheap, $5 cocktails, $6 cocktails, whereas you know, you'll get regular pricing. In Parque LLERAS, it is much higher class, much nicer bars and clubs, bigger, well built, tons of tourists everywhere. Definitely very bustling. On the weekends, it gets very crowded, at least when I went. Didn't care for the prices. Also, a lot rowdier of a crowd in my opinion. To each their own. It wasn't my favorite, but I still had a great time with what I did. And honestly, I actually felt a tad more unsafe during this part. When I was partying there, I had an incident at the club actually, and if you want a story time on that, let me know down below, because I have a crazy story time for this experience at this club in Parque LLERAS. If you want to hear that, let me know. Moving on, we are going to talk about GUATAPE. So that is going to be number 6 on my list, is going to be take a day trip to GUATAPE. You may or may not have heard of it. If you have not, GUATAPE is a cute little pueblo or a town outside of Medellin. It's about a 2-hour ride. It has a lot of historical background, very well known among the locals, and is highly recommended to from a lot of people. How do you get to GUATAPE? Well, since it is a far ride, you could pay a little extra money to take an Uber or taxi. I think we paid around $100. Yes, it is expensive, but for the convenience, I wanted to just pay it so I could just get there and be able to have a comfortable ride. You can also, if you're on a budget, take public transportation. It might take a little longer, but hey, you're saving coin as long as you're prepared for it, because we weren't at first. You can take the bus. News on that is, if you do plan to take an Uber or taxi, make sure you have that set up ahead of time, because we did not have that ahead of time. Our driver bailed out last minute, the same one who dropped us off, and was having car problems, so they could not come pick us up. We did end up taking the bus, but we barely missed the very last bus by like 10 minutes. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that. Don't make the same mistake we did. We almost got stranded. Anywho, what is there to do in GUATAPE? GUATAPE is so cute. It's a little town, colorful, picturesque. Is surrounded by a gorgeous lake, and its most famous structure is going to be the Piedra del Peñol, which is like the large rock. So it's a really large rock. A lot of locals still don't know quite. There's different theories about how this rock came to be. Some say it was a meteor, some say it was built. I don't know exactly, but you can climb however many steps it gets to the top. Very many steps. It was definitely a workout, but the view at the top was really nice. Very beautiful. It was a 360 view of the whole lake around there. So that is the most popular thing that you can do when you're there, but there are other things you can do. My favorite thing was renting a boat and going out into the lake. You can either rent jet skis, there are different type of boats depending how big your party is. We did like this tiny little fisher boat. Really cute, really fun. We just got to zoom around for about half an hour to an hour. Out here in the deep Amazon River, we have our safari guide right here. Please tell us your name, safari guide.
Some like to call me the Black Anaconda.
Okay, we have it, the Black Anaconda, taking us in the deep
deep rivers of the Amazon.
Another way of transportation around the town is taking a tuk-tuk. I think I'm saying that right. At these cute little cars that are so adorable. I'm from the Philippines, if you didn't know that. So they kind of remind me of our tricycles. I definitely had a little soft spot for these cute little colorful cars. Okay, so next up on our list, number 7. Number 7 is go to COMMUNA 13. This is a barrio up in the hills. It has a lot and lots of history to it. So during the Pablo Escobar times and a little bit after that, this was predominantly known to be one of the most dangerous spots in Medellin. It was known for guerrilla warfare, lots of gang activity, lots of murdering, lots of kidnapping, trafficking, you name it. One of the most scariest places to be, definitely. Today, it has transformed into a wonderful, wonderful, and one of the most safest parts of the city. Wonderful tourist attractions. Very many tourists visit every single day. You get all the locals who are just so happy. It's so lively. So much energy you can feel up in this mountain. They've really done an amazing job cleaning it up. We actually took a tour and our tour guide was amazing. He brought you around all the artwork around the city, explained the artwork that was there, the meaning behind it. We got to watch the locals perform for us. He even took us into his grandmother's home, which was so sweet. And then he also told about his family history, which I absolutely loved. There's just so much to do, so much to see. So please do not miss out on COMMUNA 13. And that's going to lead me into number 8, and that is try a Colombian michelada. In COMMUNA 13, I was introduced during the tour. He explained, he got everyone one part of the tour. So sweet. It was very exciting, and he told us this is a michelada. I looked at it and I was like, this is not a michelada. Micheladas have tomato juice. He was like, no, not a Mexican michelada, but a Colombian one. It's like a fruity version. It has like fruit puree in it, and then the beer. I don't know what they did, but man, oh man, was it delicious. I was obsessed. So if you're there, please try a Colombian michelada. Absolutely delicious. Also, try the aguardiente. That is going to be the national type of liquor that they have everywhere in Colombia. In my opinion, it tastes like black licorice. Not a black licorice fan, so it wasn't my cup of tea. However, you got to try it while you're there because when in Colombia, try the aguardiente. Okay, number 9, I put this on the list because this actually happened on accident. It was a Sunday, and if you didn't know, in most Latin countries, everything is closed on Sundays. Like nothing's open. It's very hard to find restaurants and things that are open. So finding food was a very difficult task for us. We wanted to go out to eat. We just didn't know where to go. We Googled a bunch of restaurants. All of them were closed. So officially we ended up asking a driver, do you have any recommendations? He took us to the area in Estadio, which is in LAURELES or near LAURELES. And this is where some locals go to eat. Definitely not as flashy of restaurants that we've been going to, that we've been seeing in like Poblado and like the nicer areas, but more in the areas where the locals tend to be. We ran into a restaurant. I don't remember the name. I remember it was in the Estadio area. I'm sure you could find any really good restaurants in that area, but I kid you not, the best meal we had in Medellin the whole time. And it was the most affordable. We had 2 steak dinners with 2 sides each, a drink each, and an appetizer for like $30-something. And it was really good quality food. You can find these hidden gems anywhere you go. You just gotta look for them. So I'm going to tell you that if you need to know where to go for food, then you might just run into a hidden gem in that area. So look in the Estadio area. Okay, last but not least, I didn't get to do this one. We had plans to do it. We were ready to go. I'm very upset looking back that I didn't get to go. However, go to a soccer game. My boyfriend actually went back to Medellin a little bit after that, and he ended up going to a soccer game, which he said was really, really interesting. It was a very interesting experience. I couldn't go when I was there. It was on the weekend. I was very sick when I woke up that morning. I missed out on the soccer game, but if you do go, I've heard such amazing things. I heard they're really, really fun, and they're definitely a crazy experience. Please do me a favor and go to one since I didn't get to go. But okay, you guys, that is it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more like this, please let me know down below. And I appreciate you clicking on this video. Well, Big Daddy out.